The underestimated species, Emerge's empire. The Galactic Union had existed for over 10,000 years. It was a vast empire of powerful alien civilizations stretching across countless star systems. The Union ruled with order, believing themselves to be the strongest force in the galaxy. They had conquered many planets, absorbed new species into their system, and decided which races were worthy of war, diplomacy, or servitude. Then, one day, they discovered a small blue planet in a distant solar system, Earth. The Union did not see humans as a threat. They were a young species, new to space travel, and had only just begun exploring beyond their own star. The Union classified them as Category C, a primitive race, weak in physical strength, slow in technological progress, and incapable of challenging the galaxy's great empires. At the grand halls of the Galactic Council, representatives from different alien species gathered to discuss humanity's fate. "The humans are fragile," said High Chancellor Zeltar, a reptilian being with glowing golden eyes. "Their bodies are weak, their lifespan short. They have no advanced warships, no hyperweaponry, no battle fleets. They are no more dangerous than the insects of my homeworld." A deep laugh echoed across the chamber. Other aliens joined in, mocking the idea that humans could ever be more than a minor species. "Perhaps they can serve as diplomats," suggested a violet-skinned diplomat from the Azorian race. "Or workers. They have a strange ability to survive in harsh conditions. Maybe they would be useful in mining colonies." "But never warriors," growled General Kor, the supreme military commander of the Union. His forearms crossed over his armored chest as he smirked. "They are too soft for war. We will offer them protection in exchange for obedience." The decision was made. The Galactic Union sent a grand fleet to Earth, not to conquer but to welcome. They arrived in the skies of human cities with their massive ships, casting shadows over continents. Humanity had never seen such technology before. Colossal vessels, glowing with energy, capable of wiping out entire nations with a single blast. The world held its breath. The Union's ambassadors met with Earth's leaders. They smiled with false kindness, offering a treaty. "Join the Galactic Union as a protectorate. You will not have to fight your own wars. You will be given food, medicine, and knowledge. In return, you will follow our laws and accept our rule." Earth's leaders hesitated. The offer sounded generous, but the meaning was clear. Humanity would no longer be independent. They would be controlled. Some leaders wanted to resist. Others wanted to accept. The aliens laughed when they saw this hesitation. At the signing ceremony, held aboard a Grand Union flagship, the moment of humiliation arrived. The cameras of 1,000 alien worlds broadcasted the event live. Humanity's representative, an elderly diplomat named William Carter, stood before the High Chancellor to finalize the treaty. His hands trembled slightly, though his face remained calm. Chancellor Zeltar gave him a patronizing smile. "Do not be ashamed, human," he said, his voice filled with amusement. "You are joining something greater than yourself. You should be honored." The council members chuckled. The Union's elite whispered among themselves. The message was clear. Humanity was weak, and they should be grateful for this mercy. Carter took a deep breath and signed the treaty. The Galactic Union officially absorbed Earth. Across human colonies and cities, people watched in silence. Some cheered, believing this was the dawn of a new era. Others clenched their fists, feeling the weight of their leader's decision. But deep beneath the surface, in hidden military bases and secret government meetings, a different plan was taking shape. They thought humanity was weak. They thought humanity had no warriors. They thought humans would kneel forever. They were wrong. And soon, the galaxy would learn that mistake was their greatest downfall, the hidden strength of humanity. After the treaty was signed, the Galactic Union moved swiftly. They stationed alien overseers on Earth, established trade routes, and set up research stations. The Union did not see humans as a security risk. There were no restrictions on Earth's technology or military. Why would there be? To them, humans were weak, incapable of war. But humanity knew the truth. In secret, hidden from alien eyes, Earth's leaders gathered. The meeting in the shadows, deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in an underground military base, the highest-ranking generals, scientists, and strategists of Earth sat in a dimly lit war room. A massive screen displayed the galaxy's political map, hundreds of alien civilizations, all under the Union's rule. At the head of the table stood General Marcus Hale, a veteran of Earth's last great war. His sharp eyes scanned the room before he spoke. "They think we're weak," he said, his voice calm but firm. "They think we have no fight in us." He turned to Dr. Evelyn Carter, a leading scientist in experimental weapons technology. "Doctor, tell them what you found." Dr. Carter nodded and brought up a classified report on the screen. "The Union's warships are powerful," she explained, "but they rely on outdated tactics. Their shields are strong, but they haven't upgraded them in centuries. They believe no new species can match their power, so they stopped innovating." She clicked a button, and a hologram of a human-designed disruptor missile appeared. "We've been working on a way to pierce their shields. With this, we won't just defend Earth, we'll be able to strike back." Murmurs filled the room. The realization was sinking in. The Union had grown arrogant. They ruled through fear, but they had stopped preparing for a true war. A war that humanity was now ready to fight. The secret military project. Over the next months, Earth's greatest minds worked in silence. Factories disguised as research labs produced advanced weaponry. Old satellites were repurposed into spy systems, monitoring the Union's fleet movements. New warships, far more advanced than anything Earth had before, were built deep in space, hidden behind asteroid belts and abandoned moon bases. Young men and women were recruited, trained in secret, prepared for a war that had not yet begun. The world moved forward as if nothing had changed. Earth's people obeyed the Union's laws. The alien overseers saw no rebellion, no resistance. But beneath the surface, a storm was brewing. A storm that would shake the galaxy. The first test. 1 year after the treaty, a small human warship, the Valiant, launched on a classified mission. Its target, a derelict Union ship drifting near the edge of the solar system. The plan was simple: test Earth's new weapons on a real alien target. Inside the Valiant's control room, Captain Elias Reed stared at the screen. The abandoned Union ship floated in space, unaware of what was about to happen. "Fire," he ordered. The disruptor missile shot forward, slicing through the darkness. A second later, the Union ship's shields flickered, then collapsed completely. A direct hit. The ship exploded into debris. The crew of the Valiant cheered, but Captain Reed only watched in silence. "It works," he muttered. "We can fight them." The warning. Back on Earth, General Hale received the news. The test was a success. The humans now had weapons capable of bringing down the mightiest fleets in the galaxy. But before he could celebrate, a message arrived from the Galactic Union. A fleet was coming to Earth. Not for war. For something worse. A test of obedience. The Union would soon see if humanity was truly weak, or if the beast they ignored was about to awaken. The Galactic Betrayal. The skies above Earth darkened as the Galactic Union's observation fleet arrived. Their ships hovered in low orbit, massive, imposing, and a clear message to humanity. "We are watching you." At first, there were no threats, no demands, just a cold, silent presence. Then, the Union's supreme overseer, Vael Zorath, a tall, pale-skinned alien with piercing black eyes, transmitted a message to Earth's leaders. "The Galactic Council is concerned. Your species is restless. We are here to ensure that you remain loyal." The message was polite, but the meaning was clear. Submit, or be destroyed. A sudden invasion. 2 days later, without warning, an alien empire known as the Vorak Dominion, a member of the Galactic Union, launched a surprise invasion on Earth's outermost colonies on Mars and Europa. The Union did nothing to stop them. When humanity's ambassador contacted the Union for help, Val Zoreth simply smiled. "We do not interfere in minor disputes. Consider this test of survival." A test. The Vorak Dominion's fleet bombarded Mars, targeting human settlements. Thousands died in the first attack. Panic spread across the colonies as Vorak warships descended, dropping mercenary forces to seize control of human territory. The Union watched in silence. The moment of defiance. In a secret underground base, General Marcus Hale, Dr. Evelyn Carter, and Earth's top officials gathered for an emergency meeting. The room was filled with grim faces and quiet fury. "The Union betrayed us," Dr. Carter said bitterly. "They let the Vorak invade just to see how we react." General Hale clenched his fists. "They think we'll kneel." The President of Earth stood, looking at the leaders of humanity's hidden resistance. "We have a choice," he said. "We can surrender, or we can show them what happens when humans are pushed too far." No one spoke for a moment. Then General Hale smirked. "Then it's time." "Time for what?" someone asked. Hale's eyes burned with determination. "Time to show them we were never weak." The counterattack begins. Within hours, Project Revenant, Earth's secret war plan, was activated. Hidden warships, built in asteroid fields, powered up for battle. Elite human soldiers, trained in secret, prepared for their first mission. Advanced disruptor missiles, capable of penetrating alien shields, were loaded onto Earth's fleet. The Vorak Dominion expected an easy victory. Instead, they got human wrath. First strike. The Battle of Mars. On Mars, Vorak soldiers marched through the burning ruins of a human colony, laughing as they declared their dominance. They had fought many species before. To them, humanity was nothing but a weak, primitive race. Then suddenly, the sky lit up with fire. From the shadows of Olympus Mons, hidden human artillery opened fire, obliterating Vorak landing ships. From underground bunkers, human shock troops emerged, using weapons the aliens had never seen before: plasma rifles modified for rapid fire, explosives designed to penetrate Vorak armor, and combat tactics no other species had dared to use. The Vorak, caught off guard, began to fall back. Then, from the sky, came the final blow. The Valiant, Earth's first stealth warship, decloaked and launched a devastating missile barrage. Vorak warships, once confident in their superiority, exploded into debris. The Battle of Mars lasted only 2 hours. By the end, the Vorak were in full retreat. The galaxy watches in shock. Across the stars, news spread fast. The weak species, the frail humans, had just defeated an empire in open combat. For the first time in centuries, an alien race had fought back against the Union's rule, and won. In the halls of the Galactic Council, leaders from hundreds of species watched recordings of the battle in stunned silence. Val Zoreth, the Supreme Overseer, sat frozen in his chair. His black eyes narrowed as he watched human warships tearing through Vorak forces. A Union official whispered, They weren't supposed to be this strong." Zoreth said nothing. He just clenched his jaw. And then he gave one single order: send in the extermination fleet. Humanity had won its first battle. But now, the real war was about to begin. The first human counterattack. The Galactic Union's extermination fleet was on its way. A force of 500 warships, armed with weapons capable of turning entire planets to dust, set course for Earth. The Union had underestimated humanity once, but they would not make that mistake again. The message was clear: humanity will be erased. The galaxy does not tolerate rebellion. But the Union had miscalculated. Earth was not afraid. Earth was ready. The War Council. In an underground bunker beneath Washington, D.C., Earth's top leaders gathered. General Marcus Hale stood before a massive holographic display of the incoming fleet. "The Union is bringing everything they have," he said. "They think this will be an easy extermination." Dr. Evelyn Carter tapped on the display, highlighting key enemy weaknesses. "Their fleet is massive, but they still rely on outdated tactics. They're coming in tight formations, expecting to overwhelm us with firepower." General Hale smirked. "Then we'll show them the cost of arrogance." The President of Earth leaned forward. "We have one chance. If we fail here, humanity is finished." A deep silence filled the room. Then Hale spoke. "We won't fail." His voice was calm, certain, because this isn't just a battle. This is our declaration of war. The ambush. The extermination fleet arrived at the edge of the solar system, preparing for a direct assault on Earth. Then, something unexpected happened. As the fleet passed through the Kuiper Belt, a cluster of human stealth ships the Union didn't even know existed, decloaked and opened fire. Massive disruptor missiles tore through the enemy's leading warships before they even had time to react. Explosions lit up space as Union vessels crumbled into wreckage. Panic spread through the enemy fleet. The humans weren't just defending Earth. They were hunting. The Valiant, Earth's first experimental warship, led the second wave of the ambush. With superior speed and precision, it weaved through the chaos, delivering devastating strikes. Union commanders scrambled to respond, barking orders in their alien tongues. But their tactics were too slow, too predictable. Humanity had learned their strategies, and now they were using them against them. The turning point. As the battle raged in deep space, the main fleet of Earth's resistance, warships that had been secretly built in hidden asteroid bases, moved in for the kill. Human fighter squadrons weaved through the battlefield, outmaneuvering the sluggish alien ships. Orbital defense stations, disguised as civilian satellites, activated and launched precision strikes. Ground-based railguns on the moon fired at enemy capital ships, tearing through their hulls with terrifying accuracy. The Union fleet was crumbling. They had come expecting a slaughter. Instead, they had walked into a death trap, the enemy's last move. Realizing their fleet was losing, the Union made a desperate move. One of their dreadnought-class warships, the Oblivion Spear, broke through the chaos and headed straight for Earth. Its mission: planetary bombardment. If they couldn't win the battle, they would destroy the planet. General Hale watched the Oblivion Spear on the war map. His jaw tightened. "They're going to burn Earth," Dr. Carter whispered. Hale turned to his officers. "Ready the Hellstorm protocol." The room went silent. Everyone knew what that meant. The president hesitated for only a moment. Then he nodded. "Do it." The final blow. As the Oblivion Spear entered Earth's atmosphere, preparing to unleash its deadly payload, a final human strike force launched from the hidden lunar base. 6 prototype interceptors, faster and deadlier than anything ever built before, soared through space. At their lead was Captain Elias Reed of the Valiant. Through the comms, his voice was cold, determined. "We end this now." The interceptors moved like ghosts, dodging enemy fire, weaving through the chaos. They reached the Oblivion Spear, locked on to its weak points, and unleashed every missile they had. The Union's most powerful warship exploded in the sky, breaking apart before it could fire on Earth. On the ground, people watched in awe as burning debris rained harmlessly into the oceans. Humanity had won. The aftermath. A new war begins. The remnants of the extermination fleet fled, their leaders in shock. For the first time in its long history, the Galactic Union had been defeated in open combat. Across the stars, alien civilizations watched in horror. They had thought of humans as frail. Now they saw them for what they truly were: a species willing to fight to the last breath. A species that refused to kneel. And deep within the Galactic Union's high command, Supreme Overseer Val Zorath clenched his fists as he watched the battle reports. His eyes burned with fury. "Prepare the Grand Armada," he ordered. This war has only just begun. The galaxy watches in shock. The war should have ended. The Galactic Union had sent an extermination fleet, and it had been destroyed. The humans, once mocked as weak, had defeated the greatest military force in the galaxy. Now, across the stars, the impossible had become reality. And the galaxy was watching. The aftermath of victory. On Earth, celebrations erupted. The people who once lived in fear of alien rule now stood proud. In the streets of New York, London, Beijing, and every major city, humans cheered as footage of the battle played across screens. The Oblivion Spear's fiery destruction became a symbol of humanity's defiance. But inside the war room, there were no celebrations. General Marcus Hale stood before a room of military leaders, his face grim. "This war isn't over," he said. Dr. Evelyn Carter, scanning intercepted enemy transmissions, nodded in agreement. The Union won't back down. They've never lost a war before. And they won't let this defeat stand. The President of Earth folded his hands. Then what happens next? A long silence filled the room. Finally, General Hale spoke. "We don't wait for them to attack again." He looked around the room, his voice hard as steel. "We take the fight to them." The Galactic Union in crisis. Light years away, in the grand halls of the Galactic Union High Council, chaos reigned. The council chamber, once a place of calm and order, was now filled with panic and fear. Holographic displays flickered, showing the wreckage of the extermination fleet, burning in the void of space. Representatives from dozens of alien civilizations shouted over each other. "The humans destroy our forces," one alien screamed. "They were supposed to be frail, primitive," another hissed. "They are more dangerous than we ever imagined," a deep rumbling voice growled. At the head of the chamber, Supreme Overseer Val Zorath sat in silence. His black eyes burned with rage as he watched recordings of the battle. He had underestimated humanity. And now, the entire Union was paying the price. A holographic transmission appeared before him. One of his top generals, his reptilian face filled with dread. "Supreme Overseer, what are your orders?" Zorath's voice was calm, but cold as death. "We crush them. We burn their worlds. We end this mistake." Then he turned to the council. "We have two choices," he declared. "We can either destroy the humans now," his voice dropped to a growl, "or we can kneel before them later." Silence fell over the chamber. One by one, the alien leaders lowered their heads. They had no choice. The Grand Armada, the largest fleet the galaxy had ever seen, was mobilized. And its target was Earth. The galaxy chooses sides. Not every alien race was eager to destroy humanity. Across the Union, whispers of rebellion spread. Some species had suffered under the Union's rule for centuries. Now, for the first time, they saw hope, because if the humans could stand against the Union, maybe others could too. In secret, messages were sent to Earth. One of them came from Ambassador Xyra, a representative of the Zervani Confederacy, a race long oppressed by the Union. In a secure transmission, her insect-like face flickered onto Earth's communication screens. "Humans, you are not alone. We have waited for someone to challenge the Union. If you fight, we will fight with you." The room went silent. Then General Hale smirked. "Looks like we just got our first allies. Humanity's next move." With the Grand Armada assembling, Earth had little time to prepare. The War Council gathered once more. Dr. Carter displayed intelligence reports showing enemy fleet formations. "We can't fight them head-on," she explained. "They have too many ships, too much firepower." General Hale crossed his arms. "Then we don't fight them like the others do." He tapped on the holographic map, highlighting key Union supply routes and communication hubs. "We don't win this war by playing their game." He turned to the President. "We fight our way. Guerrilla warfare. Hit-and-run strikes. Sabotage." The Union expected a defensive war. Humanity was about to give them something else entirely. The first strike. 1 week later, the first human-led counteroffensive began. A small fleet of stealth ships, including the Valiant, slipped past Union defenses and struck deep into enemy space. Their target? A Union command station controlling major fleet movements. Captain Elias Reed led the attack. His voice was steady as he spoke to his crew. They called us weak. They called us insignificant. Let's remind them who we are. The attack was swift, precise, devastating. By the time the Union realized what had happened, the command station was nothing but debris. And the message was clear. Humanity wasn't just defending itself. It was on the offensive. The war escalates. With their command station destroyed, the Union's Grand Armada was thrown into disarray. Zoreth's fury shook the Union's core. "I want every human world burned," he snarled. "Every city in flames." But despite his rage, his fleet struggled. Humanity wasn't fighting like the other species before them. They didn't engage in open battles. They struck from the shadows. They attacked supply lines, crippled communication networks, and ambushed isolated fleets. The Grand Armada, the unstoppable force of the galaxy, was bleeding. For the first time in history, the Union was on the defensive. And as the war spread, more alien races began to question their loyalty to the Union. The tides of war were shifting. And for the first time, the Galactic Union feared humanity. The final message. In his private chambers, Supreme Overseer Vael Zorath watched as report after report detailed human victories. His claws dug into the armrest of his throne. The humans had broken every expectation. And now, they were winning. He took a deep breath and sent a final message to his war council. Prepare the Doomsday Protocol. The war was not over. But the next battle would decide the fate of the galaxy. And humanity was ready. Humanity declares total war. The war had begun. Not just a battle. Not just a rebellion. But a full-scale war against the Galactic Union. And humanity wasn't just fighting to survive. They were fighting to win. The Doomsday Protocol. Deep in the core of the Galactic Union's capital world, Supreme Overseer Vael Zorath stood before his war council. His black eyes burned with fury. Humanity had done the unthinkable. They had destroyed the extermination fleet. They had crippled the Grand Armada's command structure. And worst of all, they had gained allies. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Galactic Union was losing. Zorath clenched his fists. "We cannot let this stand." He turned to his top generals. "Activate the Doomsday Protocol." A heavy silence fell over the room. Even the most ruthless alien warlords hesitated. The Doomsday Protocol had only been used once in history. It had erased an entire species. A reptilian commander spoke cautiously. "Are you sure, my lord? If we do this, the galaxy will." Zorath's voice was ice. "I do not care what the galaxy thinks. The humans will be an example. We will end them, or they will end us." The order was given. Across the stars, the elite Union strike forces were mobilized. Their mission was clear. Not just to defeat humanity, but to erase it from existence. Earth's war plan. On Earth, in the underground war room, General Marcus Hale studied intelligence reports. Dr. Evelyn Carter analyzed data from the intercepted Union transmissions. They had decrypted the message. Doomsday Protocol activated. Hale exhaled sharply. "They're going all in." The president of Earth leaned forward. "What does this mean?" Dr. Carter's face was pale. "It means they won't stop at defeating us. They're going to wipe us out." A deep silence filled the room. Hale clenched his fists. "Then we do the same." The president's eyes widened. "You're suggesting?" Hale nodded. "We don't just fight back. We take the war to their core worlds. No more waiting. No more hiding. We're going to burn the Union to the ground." The attack on the fortress world of Varkle 7. The first true offensive of the war began. Earth's Shadow Fleet, made up of newly built warships, launched an all-out assault on Varkle 7, a key Galactic Union military stronghold. It was supposed to be impossible to invade. It had withstood 1,000 wars. It had never fallen. Until now. The battle begins. The human fleet decloaked just outside the system, moving in fast. The Union's defensive fleets scrambled, caught completely off guard. Captain Elias Reed, aboard the Valiant, led the charge. His voice was steady over the comms. "We end this today." The first wave of disruptor missiles struck the planet's orbital defenses. Massive explosions tore through Union warships. Dozens were destroyed before they even had time to fire back. Then came the ground assault. Human dropships descended from the sky like meteors. Elite human soldiers, trained in advanced guerrilla warfare, landed in the heart of enemy fortifications. They fought with brutal efficiency. They used hit-and-run tactics the Union had never seen before. They didn't fight like soldiers. They fought like survivors. The alien defenders, despite their superior numbers, broke within hours. Varkle 7, the unbreakable fortress, fell in a single day. And the galaxy took notice. The Union is fracturing. The fall of Varkle 7 sent shockwaves across the galaxy. For the first time in its history, the Galactic Union wasn't just losing battles. It was losing control. Across the stars, alien species who had suffered under Union rule saw hope. The Zervani Confederacy, the Drakari clans, the exiled Kavari warbands, they all saw humanity's victory. And one by one, they began to rise up. Rebellions exploded across the Union's territories. Entire planets declared independence. And suddenly, the unstoppable Galactic Union was on the verge of collapse. The final warning. Back on Earth, General Hale and his War Council watched the galaxy burn. The President of Earth turned to Hale. "We've started something much bigger than us." Hale nodded. "And we're going to finish it." Then a new transmission arrived. A hologram flickered to life. Supreme Overseer Vael Zorath himself. His face was calm, but his black eyes burned with rage. "You think you've won," he whispered. "You think you can destroy us. You don't understand what you've awakened." Hale narrowed his eyes. "We understand just fine." Zorath leaned forward. "Then let me make it clear. We are coming for Earth, and we will burn it to the ground." The transmission cut out. The room fell into silence. Then Dr. Carter turned to General Hale. "If they're throwing everything at Earth." Hale smirked. "That means their homeworld is vulnerable." The President's eyes widened. "You're suggesting?" Hale nodded. "We hit them where it hurts. We're going to the Union's homeworld. We're going to end this war." The final battle approaches. The Union's Grand Armada was on its way to Earth, and humanity's war fleet was heading straight for the Union's homeworld. The biggest battle in galactic history was about to begin, and only one side would survive. The turning point of the war. The galaxy was on fire. What had begun as a war of extermination had turned into a galactic revolution. Humanity was no longer fighting for survival. They were fighting to end the Galactic Union itself. And now, the final battles were about to begin. The Grand Armada arrives. The skies above Earth darkened as the Union's Grand Armada arrived in full force. Over 10,000 warships, the largest fleet ever assembled, loomed over the planet. It was the Union's last, desperate attempt to destroy humanity. Supreme Overseer Vael Zorath himself led the assault from his personal dreadnought, the Eternal Dominion. His voice echoed across the communication channels. "This ends today. Your species will be nothing but ash." Across Earth, air raid sirens blared. Civilians rushed to underground bunkers. Anti-orbital defenses powered up. And in space, Earth's final fleet, outnumbered 10 to 1, stood ready for the battle of its existence. The battle for Earth begins. The first wave of Union warships descended, unleashing a rain of plasma fire onto Earth's defenses. Massive explosions lit up the sky as orbital stations fought desperately to hold the line. On the surface, ground-based railguns and missile silos fired back, tearing through the lower ranks of enemy ships. But the Union had numbers, and soon, human ships were being overwhelmed. A desperate plan. Inside Earth's primary command bunker, General Marcus Hale watched the battle unfold. His jaw tightened. "We can't hold them off forever," Dr. Evelyn Carter warned. "They'll break through." The president turned to Hale. "What do we do?" Hale took a deep breath. "We don't fight them head-on." He pointed at the holographic display of the battlefield. "We need to cut off the head. If we take down the Supreme Overseer's flagship, the rest of the fleet will fall into chaos." Dr. Carter's eyes widened. "You're suggesting an assassination?" Hale nodded. "We send a strike team aboard the Eternal Dominion. We kill Zoreth. The infiltration mission." The Valiant, humanity's most advanced stealth warship, broke through the chaos of battle, dodging enemy fire as it slipped past Union defenses. Aboard it, Captain Elias Reed led a team of elite human commandos. Their mission: infiltrate the Eternal Dominion, find Zoreth, and end the war. As the Valiant approached, Reed turned to his team. "This is it," he said. "No turning back." They nodded. And then, in a daring maneuver, the Valiant crash-landed directly into the side of the Union flagship. With weapons drawn, the team stormed into the corridors of the enemy ship. The duel with Zoreth. Deep inside the command center of the Eternal Dominion, Supreme Overseer Zoreth stood tall, his black eyes burning with fury as the human strike team breached the room. "So, you've come to kill me," he sneered. Captain Reed stepped forward, gripping his rifle. "No," he said coldly. "We've come to end your empire." Zoreth let out a low growl. Then he lunged. A brutal hand-to-hand battle erupted. Blades clashed. Gunfire echoed. Explosions rocked the ship as the battle outside raged on. Reed fought fiercely, dodging Zoreth's attacks. But the alien was fast, strong, ruthless. For a moment, it seemed like humanity's last hope would fall right there, until Reed saw one opening. With a final, desperate strike, he drove his combat knife deep into Zoreth's chest. The Supreme Overseer staggered back, gasping in disbelief. "This is impossible. Your kind was never supposed to win." Reed stepped closer, looking the dying alien in the eyes. "You never understood humans. We don't stop fighting." With that, Zoreth collapsed. The Supreme Overseer of the Galactic Union was dead. The Union falls apart. The moment Zoreth's death was confirmed, the battle changed instantly. The Union fleet, now leaderless, began to panic. Some ships fled. Others turned on each other. Many simply surrendered. The Grand Armada, once seen as unstoppable, was falling apart. And on Earth, in the command center, General Hale let out a breath of relief. "It's over," Dr. Carter whispered. Hale nodded. "No, it's just beginning." The final push. With the Union fleet in chaos, Earth's forces pushed forward. Human warships wiped out the last remaining enemy squadrons. Ground forces swept through surrendering troops. Humanity's allies, the Zervani and other rebel races, rose up across the stars. The Galactic Union, once the most powerful empire in the universe, was collapsing. And the species they had mocked, the one they had called frail, was leading the charge. A new era begins. In the days that followed, the truth became clear. The Galactic Union was no more. Its leaders were dead or captured. Its armies were shattered. Its people, once ruled by fear, were now free. And at the heart of it all, standing victorious, was humanity. The final message to the galaxy. From Earth, a transmission was sent to every remaining civilization. The face of General Marcus Hale appeared on screens across the stars. The war is over. The Union is gone. And humanity is here to stay. For the first time in history, The galaxy belonged not to the oppressors, but to the free. And at the center of it all, the species that had once been underestimated was now the strongest force in the universe. The final battle, humanity's last stand. The war should have been over. The Supreme Overseer was dead. The Galactic Union was collapsing. Humanity had done the impossible. They had won. But even in defeat, the Union had one last weapon, and it was heading straight for Earth. The Union's last weapon, the World Breaker. Deep within the Galactic Union's hidden military strongholds, a final, desperate order had been given. A superweapon, one that had been kept in secrecy for centuries, was activated. The World Breaker. It was not a fleet. It was not an army. It was a planet killer. A massive space station, built to destroy entire worlds with a single shot. The last surviving warlords of the Union had only one command. If we cannot rule the galaxy, then we will burn it. Its target, Earth. The race against time. In Earth's war room, alarms blared. Dr. Evelyn Carter stared at the incoming threat, her face pale. "The World Breaker is coming," she whispered. General Marcus Hale clenched his fists. "How long until it fires?" Dr. Carter ran calculations. Less than 12 hours. The room fell silent. Everyone knew what this meant. If the World Breaker reached firing range, Earth would be gone. The entire planet. Everything they fought for. Everything they won. Gone in an instant. The president of Earth looked at Hale. "Can we stop it?" Hale exhaled slowly. "We have no choice." He turned to his fleet commanders. "This is humanity's last stand. Prepare every warship we have. We're taking the fight to them. The battle for Earth's survival." As the World Breaker approached, Earth's final fleet launched. The last remnants of the Galactic Union, desperate, furious, rallied to defend the superweapon. It was humanity's last chance, and they were outnumbered. But humans had been outnumbered before, and every time they refused to fall. The final attack plan. Inside the Valiant, Captain Elias Reed studied the holographic plans of the World Breaker. It was heavily armored, shields stronger than anything they had seen before. A direct assault was suicide. Then Reed saw it, a weak spot. "The World Breaker has a core reactor," he explained to the fleet. "If we can destroy it from the inside, we can take the whole station down." General Hale's voice came over the comms. "Then we hit it fast, and we hit it hard. All ships, begin the assault." The last battle begins. The final war began. Human battleships clashed with the last of the Union's fleet. Fighter squadrons weaved through the chaos, dodging plasma fire. Missiles streaked across space, turning enemy warships into burning wrecks. It was the fiercest battle in human history. The World Breaker charged its main cannon, preparing to fire on Earth. Dr. Carter's voice echoed over the comms. "We're running out of time." Captain Reed gritted his teeth. "Then let's finish this." The final infiltration. A small team of elite human commandos, led by Captain Reed, boarded the World Breaker. They fought through the corridors of the station, cutting down enemy defenders in brutal close-quarters combat. Explosions rocked the structure as human forces breached deeper inside. Finally, they'd reached the reactor core. And that's when the final Union commander appeared. The last duel. The last surviving Union warlord, a monstrous, four-armed alien known as Calvor, blocked their path. "You have come so far," Calvor growled. "But this is where humanity dies." Captain Reed narrowed his eyes. "We don't die easy." The final duel began. Blades clashed. Gunfire echoed through the halls. Every second brought the World Breaker closer to firing. Reed fought with everything he had. Finally, with one final strike, he drove his blade through Calvor's heart. The Union's last warlord collapsed, and Reed turned to his team. "Set the charges. The end of the World Breaker." Explosives were planted around the reactor core. As the human team rushed for their escape, alarms blared. The station was collapsing. They barely made it back to the Valiant before the Worldbreaker exploded in a massive fireball. From Earth, billions of people watched in awe as the sky lit up. The Worldbreaker, the Union's last weapon, was gone. Humanity had won. For good. The dawn of a new era. The war was over. The Galactic Union, the empire that had ruled for 10,000 years, was no more. And humanity stood victorious. For the first time in history, the galaxy was free. The final message to the stars. From Earth, a final transmission was sent to every remaining species. General Hale's face appeared on screens across the stars. The war is over. We did not ask for this war. But when the Union came to destroy us, we fought back. To every species that was once under the Union's rule, you are free. And to any who would threaten humanity in the future. He paused, his eyes cold as steel. Know this, we do not start wars, but we finish them. The transmission ended, and across the galaxy, the name of humanity became legend. The future of the galaxy. In the years that followed, humanity rose as a new power. But unlike the Union, they did not rule through fear. They built alliances. They brought peace. They ensured that no empire like the Union would ever rise again. And in the history books of 1,000 species, one truth remained. The species they mocked as weak had become the strongest force in the universe. Humanity had emerged, and they would never be underestimated again. The rise of a new galactic power. The war was over. The Galactic Union, once the most powerful empire in the universe, was dead. Its fleets had been shattered. Its rulers had been slain. And its last desperate weapon, the Worldbreaker, had been reduced to dust. Humanity had done the impossible. They had not only survived, they had won. But victory was only the beginning. Because now, the real question remained. What comes next? The aftermath of war. The once mighty Galactic Union was now a collection of scattered, leaderless worlds. Planets that had once served the Union now stood on their own for the first time in centuries. Some rejoiced, celebrating freedom from their former masters. Others descended into chaos, unsure how to govern themselves. And some, still loyal to the Union's rule, plotted in the shadows, waiting for revenge. On Earth, the victory celebrations lasted for weeks. But inside the war room, General Marcus Hale and his commanders had no time to celebrate. Because as one empire fell, a new order had to rise. The Galactic Council of Free Worlds. In the ruins of the Union's former capital, leaders from dozens of alien species gathered. For centuries, these species had been forced to kneel before the Union. Now they looked to humanity for guidance. General Hale stood before them, his voice strong. The Union ruled through fear, through oppression. That ends today. From now on, the galaxy will not belong to one empire. It will belong to the free. And so, the Galactic Council of Free Worlds was formed, a new alliance of independent species, built not on fear, but on mutual respect. For the first time, in thousands of years, the galaxy would not be ruled by a single overlord. And at the center of this new order stood humanity, not as conquerors, not as tyrants, but as leaders of the free, the shadows of the past. But peace would not come easily. Across the remains of the Union, remnants of the old regime refused to accept defeat. Deep in the outer rim, exiled Union warlords gathered in secret. Humanity thinks they have won, one of them growled. They have only delayed the inevitable. One day, we will rise again. These warlords would not forget. They would not forgive. And in the darkness, they prepared for their return. Humanity's next step. On Earth, in a private meeting room, General Hale, Dr. Evelyn Carter, and President Lorna Vasquez sat together. They had won the war. Now, they had to decide what came next. The president looked at Hale. We have a choice. Do we rebuild, focus on Earth, Or do we take our place among the stars? Hale's expression was thoughtful. We've seen what happens when power is left unchecked. The Union ruled for too long without opposition. Dr. Carter nodded. If we stay on Earth, it's only a matter of time before another empire rises. The president exhaled. Then what do we do? A long silence filled the room. Then Hale spoke. We explore, we expand, and we make sure this never happens again. Humanity had fought for its place in the galaxy. Now it was time to secure it. The first human expedition fleet. 1 year after the fall of the Union, the first human-led expeditionary fleet launched from Earth. Some ships traveled to the unexplored edges of the galaxy. Others searched for remnants of the Union's old warlords. And one, the legendary warship Valiant, led a diplomatic mission, bringing former enemies into the fold of the free worlds. Humanity had once feared the unknown. Now they embraced it, because the stars were no longer a danger. They were an opportunity. And this time, humanity would lead. The legacy of Earth. Across the galaxy, new monuments were built, not to war, but to resilience. On the ruins of the Union's former capital, a new monument stood tall, inscribed with words that would echo through history. They called us weak. They thought we would fall. Instead, we rose. Humanity endures. And as new generations looked up at the stars, one truth became clear. Humanity was no longer the underdog. They were no longer the victim. They were no longer frail. They were the future. And the galaxy would never be the same again. Epilogue. The unknown awaits. Years later, deep in the void of unexplored space, a lone human scout ship detected something strange. A signal. Faint. Ancient. Unlike anything they had ever encountered. Captain Elias Reed, now an admiral, stared at the message on his screen. Dr. Carter, now head of Galactic Research, studied the signal structure. This isn't from the Union, she murmured. It's something else. The crew exchanged nervous glances. Then Reed smirked. Well, he said, only one way to find out. The ship adjusted course, engines firing. As humanity's new empire continued to grow, one undeniable truth remained. The war was over, but the adventure had just begun.